Hey tubers, welcome back for another adventure. And what I'm going to do in this adventure is reintroduce. This is a ATC200 1983 vintage. It's a former U-Haul vehicle. I guess at some point U-Haul used to rent these things out. I'm not exactly sure if it was from California originally, or if perhaps it spent some time up in New York State, Adirondacks. This came from the Ulster County area around Highland, New York. And the person I got it from has a tendency to drive around and kind of look in people's backyards, and if he sees abandoned cars or abandoned motorcycles or all-terrain vehicles or whatever, he buys them up and then he takes them to shows or sells them in the paper, whatever. I bought this at the Rhinebeck car show. There were two of them. There was this one and another one, and it was $350 for the pair. And then I went back and I bought a big red from the person. If you guys recall, back in August, the very beginning of August, we pulled the engine off and we did what I call a junk rebuild on it. And by a junk rebuild, I used a used piston, a used bore. I think I put the same head back on it. And I did give it a quick honing. And what we wanted to do was see if we could get it to run without smoking. Well, sure enough, it did start up. And it actually ran pretty good as I recall, and then we kind of stopped there. And I'm not sure why we stopped there. I do have the attention span a little shorter than a gnat, but yeah, for whatever reason, I stopped there. So what needs to be done to turn this thing into a riding machine, obviously I need to put the chain on it, the sprocket, the front motor mount. I got to put the exhaust back on. I had the experimental carburetor on it. I need to get a PZ27 back on this thing. Obviously throttle, all that stuff. But before we do any of that, what I need to do is check that back axle. I'm wondering if perhaps that's why I stopped working on it. When I realized it needed rear bearings, I kind of said, you know, when I get around to finding a rear axle with bearings that are any good, I'll replace it and go with it that way. But anyhow, let's check the back axle, see what's going on with that, and then go forward. That is not the right seat, but it happened to be lying around, so I put it on there. I don't believe that's the right gas tank either. About the gas tank, I'm not sure what it showed up in. I'd have to go look at some past videos. Normally the seat for these things, they're wider and flatter in this section and just wider all around. Much more of a couchy type seat rather than a motorcycle type seat. So let me get that jacked up and we'll check out the rear axle and see what's cooking with it. So it's checked up. Let's see what's going on with these rear bearings. Actually, looks like the wheels. Yeah, those. It appears as if the wheels are loose. The bearings seem to be okay. That scraping sound you hear is the brakes. And that's the chain. I mean, they're not great. I wouldn't be doing donuts with them, but they're not bad. Also about these back tires, what are they, hole shots? But they look big. 22, 11, 10. Yeah, it'd be nice if I can find a set of OEM tires in the Horde to put on this thing. Instead of 2211 8s, they're a little more balloony, and for these hardtails, it's a much more comfortable ride. So looking at the wheels and wheel hubs, these wheels can obviously go on a couple of different things. Looks like they're drilled for, we'll call that 150 centimeter circle, and probably 110 also. Looks like they could probably go on almost anything, so they're kind of universals. From a loose point of view, I think the center bolts are just need to be tightened up a bit. That seems relatively tight. Let's check the other side. This wheel was the worst one of the two. Some of them, there's also supposed to be cotter pins on there. Oh wow, this one's really loose. Really, really loose. Wow. So that'll probably tighten the back end. Yeah. So that'll help. All right, let's get the sprocket and chain on this thing, give it a spin, see what it looks like from there. Luckily, I put the sprocket and the bolts aside, so it's just a matter of fishing them out of here and putting them on. Shift lever looks good. Front motor mount. We got all kinds of jewelry here. Yeah, it's normally, I put the chain on this, slide it on that, and then you give it a little turn, and those more, and those are the 3 bolts. Yep, so good show. We have everything we need. I'm going to smash that together. As a matter of fact, I'll put the motor mount on while I'm kneeling down. No use wasting a deep knee bend if one does not need to. So what you're looking at here is the gear shift lever, and I don't know if I am not moving the shifter shaft at all, but you have all this play here. A lot of people would try to tighten the bolt as much as they could, which I already have done, and I still have that play, but then they would just say, oh, what the heck, I'll run it. Do not do that, because the next thing is I'll be buying it from you with a little weld on here. What you could do, and I'll show you, is you take this back off and you kind of open this gap up here with a grinder. You kind of grind it away a little bit, and then that way the stretched metal, when you tighten the bolt down, will kind of clamp down a little tighter on those splines, and you won't have this problem. Normally just making a blade worth of gap in there is enough to make all the difference in the world for tightness. So there we go. No more play. I find with myself that, you know, I'll perhaps remember to be a little careful with it, but then you let somebody else ride it, or I forget, and next thing you know, the shaft is stripped. So a matter of 10 minutes work, and one could prevent that. Hey tubers, when you're working on these all-terrain vehicles, there's kind of like a million different things you want to run across, and I just want to show you the difference. This is a PC27 carburetor, you know, your typical clone, and that's what it looks like. Next door is my Honda. What do you think of that, huh? They got pretty close to the name. PZ30 carburetor, but just look at the difference in the amount of fuel you'll be able to pull through that. I don't remember my fluid dynamics all that much, but I know that when you increase the size of the pipe just a little bit, you're able to pull so much more air through it. This is nice, but obviously anywhere else you have a restriction, it'll bring you back down to a PZ27 or lower, but still, once again, just look how much that carburetor will allow the intake to breathe. The last time we started this thing, we used the portable ignition system, so I just hooked everything back up, you know, greens to greens, blue and yellows to blue and yellows. You know, I plugged in, this is for the to power the ignition system. Actually, I should plug this in too. This is where we get ground from, right? The motor might not have ground without this. So I'll plug that in. All this is plugged in, and that's on. And if you look down that hole, you can see the meniscus of that, which means I put gas in it. I turn the choke on, and where could I set the camera up? Let's see if we can't start this thing. Yeah, I think you can see a few things. Plug this in. So, yeah, I just put a new carburetor on it, and let's see what it wants to do. Ooh. Promising. Gotta love it. They start right up. That's all promising. Look good. Getting a little smoke, more smoke than I remember. Get a lot more smoke than I remember. A lot more smoke than I remember. Maybe he needs to go out and run for a little while to break in. I use this gas. It doesn't have chainsaw gas in it. Also doesn't smell like chainsaw gas. The videos, this is the one we rebuilt, right? I think it'll settle down. I think it just needs to break in a little bit. Let's hope. Smoke rings or something. Yeah, it just ran itself out of gas. Yeah, when you're putting these things together, it's like a million little things. Obviously, I bought this thing. I had to put rings into it to get the compression high enough for it to start. So we got it running. The carburetor, right? You know that little needle that goes in the center of this thing? It was actually loose, which means if I used the OEM carburetor, it would have been unstable. It did not come with the recoil. I pulled this one out of the hoard and put it on there, but check it out. It's got like slow-mo rewind. So you like get a pull out of it, and then you think about doing something else, and oh, it rewound itself. But it's like slow-mo. I mean, could you believe that? I couldn't make something do that if I had to, you know. But it's like slow-mo rewind. Look at that. 10 minutes to rewind the string. So anyway, you get distracted doing something, then you look down and the string's rewound, and you go, oh, maybe it's me. And you give it a pull, and then it's back to slow-mo rewind. And anyhow, so replace the recoil starter. To get this thing ready to ride, I have to put a muffler on it. I have to put an air cleaner on it. I have to bolt the plastic back down. I'll probably take it out for its first ride with a temporary gas tank, and then I gotta kind of look around, see what's available. I haven't opened that one recently, so I don't remember what kind of shape it's in. I was doing some cleanup elsewhere, and I actually found a nice set, a matching set of fenders for it in really nice shape. This one's got a crack going on here, obviously, and this one here, is missing. So there are a set of back fenders. This guy here, with a piece of springy metal, it could probably, look halfway decent. Get over its Mr. Droopy look. This thing is what, 46 years old, 36 years old, 80 something, yeah, 30, I guess it's 36 years old. So to have plastic banged up a little bit, that's not too big a deal. But anyway, for this series of videos, we got it back to running on its OEM ignition system. What else did we do to it? We got the chain on it, we got the sprocket on it, the front motor mount, we replaced the recoil starter again. Yeah, just a bunch of small things. I would like to get a set of real tires on this thing. A set of 2211/8s. Though if I recall, these things did have the bigger ones on there, which are 25/12/9. So no matter which way you twist it and turn it, those are the wrong tires for it. I think the one slightly smaller than that in the back would be a nice compromise, especially if they're a little bit balloony. It'll give it a little more of a front end high look to it. The balloonies will help soften the ride up a little bit for the hardtail that it is, and it'll just be worthwhile. Anyway, I gotta run before I get copyright for Christmas music. I want to thank everybody for dropping by to watch and comment and subscribe. Please remember to keep your feet down, your heads up, and get out and enjoy each and every day. Bye now.